Hi everyone, welcome to Unit 14, Introduction to Bonding. So by the end of this presentation, you'll be able to discuss there's three different meanings of bonding that we're going to talk about. Uh, you'll be able to talk about the various types of bonds and be able to look at and identify the different brick positions, not so much their applications, but just what they look like. So the term bond has three different meanings to it. So you can have a mortar bond, which is between the mortar and the brick, a structural bond, which refers to the integrity of the wall and how it's anchored, or a pattern bond, which you create with the bricks. Regardless of the type of bond, it must be carried out for the entire length and height of the wall. So you don't want to change the type of mortar that you're using, you don't want to change the type of reinforcement that you're using, and you don't want to change the type of pattern that you're using unless it's specified by an architect or an engineer. So a strong mortar bond. Mortar is what's between your bricks. So if you have one there, one there, one there. So your mortar bond is what's in between, here at your head joint and here on your bed joint. If the mortar dries too quickly, it won't stick to the brick. So if you were to look at the brick way close up, it's really rough like that. And the mortar will actually almost kind of leach in for each joint. That's what causes the bond, where the two of them overlap. Once you lay your brick and it starts to get thumbprint hard where you're ready to strike your joints, you should not move or shift the wall. If someone hits the wall that you're working on once it's starting to set, you're going to have to reset the bricks because the bond will be broken. So let's talk about a structural bond. So in this picture here, this is a running bond. You could see it's about a third of the brick. Ideally, unless specified otherwise, you want to do about half. So if you're laying your wall, you want to do your best to get in the center of each brick in alternating courses. That's the most effective at distributing weight, and it's the strongest type. So when you are laying your brick in your mortar joints, you can use these. These are all different types of ties that you have. So the bonding ties, you will lay those in between courses. So you can have a Z tie, it looks like that. You can have a rectangular one, looks like that. You can also have one that's referred to as a truss tie. And they look kind of like this. And a ladder tie, where it's just pieces run transversely. All of these, the Z, the rectangle, the truss, and the ladder ties will all be in your mortar joints. So you wouldn't see them because they're hidden inside right there, and the bricks are laid on top of it. So some of these we'll talk about when you guys start laying bricks. We won't have to worry about this for this class. This we will be doing later on in another unit. And reinforcement rods we really won't be working with brick. Maybe with some of the block that you'll be laying, but not the brick. So different types of patterns. Now, pattern is another type of bond that you can have. And the first one that we're going to talk about is the running bond. If you look at some of the walls and stuff that you see, just walk around and you'll be able to see different houses, some different buildings, like in the picture here. But a running bond, in this case, is what I talked about before, where you have your bricks laid out, and then you just try to lap them halfway over each joint. That is what your running bond looks like. Your common bond, or referred to as an American bond, is a little different. It's just a variation of the running bond. So instead of them going in halfway, usually around every 6 courses, your brick will be turned inside like that. And this is part of the brick called the header, which we'll discuss more in the next slide. The Flemish bond. The Flemish bond is very similar to the American bond, except your header is run in the center of each brick. And eventually you'll get a little bit of an overlap, but that's the general idea. The English bond, we really won't need to worry about that for this class. The stack bond is probably the most straightforward and easiest to find. If you were to look at a wall that has a stack bond, it's all the bricks just laid one on top of the other with no overlap at all. So we talked about different brick positions before, and creating some of the bonds requires you to turn the brick a certain way and use a different face of a brick. So here we're just going to go over some of those. So the first one is a stretcher. So if you look at this, this is the stretcher. That's one side of the brick. So if you're looking at a brick like this, this face, that is the stretcher. The header for a brick, yeah, I'm not an artist. The header of the brick is this face. Another position is the soldier position. You'll see these around windowsills. If they're like this, it's just the brick stood up vertical. And then this is the soldier position. A shiner is the bottom of the face on a stretcher. So this is a stretcher where it has a narrow part facing you. If you turn the brick upwards, this is the shiner. Similar to the soldier position is the row lock. So a row lock is stood up on edge like that. Again, you'll see these around windowsills. And another common one is the sailor, which is like a combination between a shiner and a row lock. So the sailor looks like this. And that is your sailor. That's it. Be prepared for your quiz. I will be asking you stuff that was on this presentation on your quiz.